Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at the English Moor or the Mock Marriage by Richard Brome. We got through an entire session without hitting the horribly problematic content that the title, The English Moor, is promising, so content warning straight from the off. We're expecting some problematic depictions of race and or racialized language to appear, as well as the usual background misogyny and issues, which otherwise has actually been presented in a very interesting fashion. We spent the entire last session sort of actually rather enjoying the play, and so we're now moderately terrified as to where this is going to go. To find out what we're going to get out of this play, whether we will be able to present a moderately full performance at some point in the future, or whether it will simply be a series of leftover sweepings from this particular Brome. We will be reading through Act 2, Scene 3 to midway through Act 4. So reading Millicent is...
Rachel, in Canada. Not ready to be called first. Sorry.
Yes, I always do this randomly. It's not like I worked my way systematically through a spreadsheet. No, I dance around sometimes just to see if everyone's paying attention. Reading Nathaniel and Arnold is...
Mark in the Midwest United States.
Reading Quicksand is...
Hi, I'm Lynn in the Northwest of the United States.
Reading Dionysia and Boy is...
Sarah in Germany.
Reading Rafe is...
Aliki in Athens.
Reading Vincent is...
Alan, keeping his ears open in Suffolk.
Reading Madge is...
Lois in London.
Reading
Madge
Theophilus is...
Honor in London.
Reading Buzard and Lucy is...
Alexandra in terrible lighting.
To reading Arthur and Edmond is...
Aaron in the Pacific Northwest of the United States.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and generally keeping us moving forward. Let's see where the play is going to take us now as we go into Act 2, Scene 3. Enter Dionysia and Rafe. Dionysia currently muted.
I do apologise. Thou tell'st me things that truth never came near.
'Tis perfect truth. You may believe it, lady.
Maintain it, but in one syllable more I'll tear thy mischievous tongue out.
Need reward for tell troughs. But that's not the reward you promised me for watching of your brother's actions. You said, forsooth, if it please you to remember that you would love me for it.
Arrogant rascal. I bade thee bring account of what he did against his enemy, and thou report'st he took his enemy's danger on himself and helped to rescue him whose bloody father killed ours. Can truth or common reason claim a part of this report? My brother do it, or draw a sword to help Theophilus.
'Tis not for any spite I owe my master, but for my itch at her that I do this, I am strangely taken. Such brave-spirited women have cherished strong-backed serving men. Ere now?
Why dost not get thee from my sight, false fellow?
I'll be believed first. Therefore, pray have patience to peruse that.
Gives her a paper.
My brother's character. Theophilus' sister's name, the brighter Lucy, so often written. Nothing but her name. But change of attributes. One serves not twice. Blessed, divine, illustrious, all perfection, and, so heaven bless me, powerful in one place. The worst thing I read yet. Heap of all virtues, bright shining, and all these ascribed to Lucy. Oh! I could curse thee now for being so just. Would thou hadst belied him still.
I never belied him,
Oh, mischief of affection. Monstrous! Horrid! It shall not pass so quietly. Nay, stay.
She'll cut my throat, I fear.
Thou art a faithful servant.
It may do yet. To you I am, sweet lady, and to my master in true construction. He is his friend, I think, that finds his follies out to have them cured, which you have only the true spirit to do.
How I do love thee now.
And your love, mistress, brave, sprightly mistress, is the steeple top, or rather weathercock, or top of that to which aspires my life's ambition.
How didst thou get this paper?
Amongst many of his rare 12 months melancholy works that lie in study, mistress, 'tis apparent his melancholy all this while has been more for her love than for his father's death.
Thou hast my love for ever.
Some small token in earnest of it, mistress, would be felt.
He offers to kiss her. She strikes him.
Take that in earnest, then.
It is a sure one, the most feeling pledge she could have given, for she is a virago, and I have read that your viragos used to strike all those they mean to lie with, and from thence 'tis taken that your brave active women are called strikers.
Set me that chair.
The warm touch of my flesh already works in her. I shall be set to better work immediately. I am prevented. Away and not be seen. Be sure I love thee.
I'm sure that last line is hers.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, Dionysia, take that line.
Away, and be not seen. Be sure I love thee.
Enter Arthur.
Aha. It clinches it. Another time, I'm sure on't.
Sister, where are you? How now? Not well or sleepy?
She sits.
Sick, brother. Sick at heart. Oh!
Passion of heart. Where are our servants now to run for doctors? Ho!
Pray, stay and hear me. Here's no work for them. They'll find a master here too powerful for the strength of all their knowledge.
What, at thy heart?
Yes, brother, at my heart. Too scornful to be dispossessed by them.
What may that proud grief be, good sister? Name it.
It grieves me more to name it than to suffer it, since I have endured the worst on it and proved constant to sufferance and silence. 'Twere a weakness now to betray a sorrow by a name more fit to be severely felt than known.
Indeed, I'll know it.
Rather let me die than so afflict your understanding, sir.
It shall not afflict me.
I know you'll chide me for it.
Indeed, you wrong me now. Can I chide you?
If you be true and honest, you must do it, and heartily.
You tax me nearly there.
And that's the physic must help me or nothing.
With grief I go about to cure a grief then. Now speak it boldly, sister.
Noble physician, it is...
It is... What is it? If you love me, speak.
'Tis love, and I beseech thee spare me not.
Alas, dear sister, canst thou think that love deserves a chiding in a gentle breast?
Do you pity me already? O faint man that tremblest but at the opening of a wound, what hope is there of thee to search and dress it? But I am in thy hands, and forced to try thee. I love Theophilus.
Huh?
Theophilus, brother, his son that slew our father. There's a love. Oh, more than time 'twere looked, for fear it festers.
Oh, she has put me to it indeed. What must I do? She has a violent spirit, so has he, and though I wish most seriously the match whereby to work mine own with his fair sister, the danger yet in the negotiation may quite destroy my course, spoil all my hopes. I'll therefore put her off on it if I can.
Can you be tender now?
What, to undo you? I love you not so slightly. Pardon me, a rough hand must be used, for here's a wound must not be gently touched. You perish then under a brother's pity. Pray, sit quiet, for you must suffer all.
I'll strive to do it.
To love the son of him that slew your father, To say it shows unlovingness of nature, forgetfulness in blood, were all but shallow to the great depth of danger your fault stands in. It rather justifies the act itself, and commends that down to posterity by your blood-cherishing embraces. Children born of your body will, instead of tears, by your example, offer a thankful joy to the sad memory of their grandsire's slaughter. Quite contrary, how fearful 'tis to think on't. What may the world say too? There goes a daughter whose strange desire leapt from her father's ruin. Death gave her to the bridegroom, and the marriage knit fast and cemented with blood. Oh, sister.
Oh, brother.
How? Well, and so quickly cured?
Dissembler! Foul dissembler!
This is plain.
Thou'st played with fire, and like a cunning fellow bit in thy pain a purpose to deceive another's tender touch. I know thy heart weeps for what hast spoke against. Thou that darest love the daughter of that fiend that slew thy father, and plead against thy cause, unfeeling man! Cannot thy own words melt thee? To that end I wrought and raised 'em. 'Twas to win thy health that I was sick. I played thy disease to thee, that thou mightst see the loathed complexion on it. Far truer in another than oneself. And if thou canst, after all this, dread wickedly, thou art a rebel to all natural love and filial duty, dead to all just counsel, and every word thou mockest with vehemence will rise a wounded father in thy conscience to scourge thy judgment. There's thy saint crossed out, and all thy memory with her. I'll ne'er trust.
She tears and throws the paper to him.
Revenge again with thee. So false is manhood. But take it now into mine own, powerfully, and see what I can do with my life's hazard. Your purpose shall ne'er thrive. There I'll make sure work.
Exit Dionysia.
How wise and cunning is a woman's malice. I never was so cozened.
Exit Arthur. End of Act 2. Okay, family drama. It really is. It's the family back and forth. They're continuing their sort of vein of how they behave to each other from in the first act when we sort of first encounter them. And these various extremities. It's very much the sequel to that earlier scene. It's quite interesting actually. It'd be quite interesting to work these scenes back to back to get a sense of what is going on with these characters and what's going on in their lives, because it's quite fiddly, their various back and forths about what's going on here, and also what's going on with Rafe, because he's we got a lot of asides to throw into that, but it's like Rafe's got ideas, and he's wrong. Is basically the answer there. Thoughts in the room, Alexandra.
I really like it's so clever that Dionysia instead of confronting him, makes him speak out against the very thing that he would be arguing for, and then goes, you see, I'm fine, but you're the problem, and you've just given yourself all the arguments not to. Okay, have a nice day. I love that.
Yeah, other thoughts? We're just getting back into the swing of things. We're trying to remember who everybody is. Aaron.
But I also like that when she then calls him out on it, he's like, "Oh, women are so terrible. I can't believe she lied to get me to undo myself."
Yeah. Who'd be related to these people? Alan.
Now we have the explanation of why the father's done a runner.
He met his children and realised how terrible things would be. I I mean, are they unreasonable people? I get the impression the play is pushing us to think that Dionysia is being a bit unreasonable, but I don't know if that's actually fair. Whether that's just sort of the impression that we're being pushed in. Lois, then Alexandra.
Well, I mean, her brother's being pretty disingenuous. All he really had to do was say, "Oh, I totally sympathize because I feel the same way about his sister." But but then for some complicated reason, he decides he can't possibly do that. So instead, he's going to follow her out.
Yeah, Alexandra.
There's something sort of strangely infantile about some of the choices here. What's his name? Rafe, the servant, who goes, she hit me, therefore she wants to sleep with me, which is, schoolboy logic in reverse. And also the writing on the paper is just the same name with different attributes. It's not a love letter, it's not a poem, it's not the diary entry revealing his love. It's just, Mrs. Darcy, Mrs. Darcy, sort of thing.
I also wonder if it's just an element of siblings getting together, that they sort of regress 10 years or something, so that they actually just end up acting like children in a way that you wouldn't in a different context. I wonder if there's an element of that going on. Aaron.
Yeah, I agree. I started to get a strong sense it's like this is more like people in high school who are overreacting to their own feelings about things. They're trying to strategize, but they're not really great at it yet, and they're making silly decisions. They're very immature in what they're responding to.
Okay. Well, that was Act 2. All over. I don't know whether the act structure is significant, whether there's a mini interval here. If it's designed for indoor playing, the later in the period it gets, the more likely it is. Act 3, however, is now starting. Act 3, Scene 1. Deep breaths, everyone. Enter Quicksands, Buzard and Madge.
Out of my doors, pernicious knave and harlot, avaunt, I say.
Good master.
Pray you, worship.
You have all the wages you are like to have.
Nay, I dare take your word for that. You'll keep all monies fast enough, whose'er it be, if you but grip it once.
I am undone and shamed forever by your negligence, or malice rather, for how can it be she could depart my house without your knowledge?
The cursed mistress that ever she came here, if I know of her flight, sir, may these hands never be held up but to curse you only, if you cashier me thus, because you have lost your wife before she was well found. Must we poor innocents be guilty?
For my part, for aught I know, she may as well be gone out of the chimney top as out the door.
The door must be your way, and find her out, or never find my door again. Begone.
Oh, you are a cruel master.
Exit Buzard and Madge.
So. These cries are laughter to me, ha ha ha. I will be master of my invention once, and now be bold to see how rich I am in my concealed wealth. Come, precious mark of beauty and perfection, at which envy and lust aim all their rankling poison arrows.
Enter Millicent.
But I'll provide them, they ne'er shall touch thy blood.
What? Are your servants gone?
Turned away with blame enough for thy supposed escape, which they will rumor so to my disgrace abroad, that all my envious adversaries will, betwixt joy of my conceived misfortune in thy dear loss, and their vain hopes to find thee, run frantic through the streets, while we at home sit safe and laugh at their defeated malice.
But now for my disguise.
Aye, that. But be but so good and gentle to thyself to hear me, and be ruled by me in that. A queen's felicity falls short of thine. I'll make thee mistress of a mine of treasure. Give me but peace the way that I desire it.
Some horrible shape, sure, that he conjures so.
That I may fool iniquity and triumph over the lustful stallions of our time. bed-bounders and leap-ladies, as they term 'em, mount-mistresses, diseases shackle 'em, and spittles pick their bones.
Come to the point. What's the disguise, I pray you?
First, no, my sweet, it was the quaint device of a Venetian merchant, which I learned in my young friendship.
That of the Moor? The blackamoor you spake of? Would you make a Negro of me?
You have passed your word that if I urge not to infringe your vow for keeping this month your virginity, you'll wear what shape I please. Now, this shall both kill vain attempts in me and guard you safe from all that seeks subversion of your honor. I'll fear no powdered spirits to haunt my house, rose-footed fiends or fumigated goblins, after this tincture's laid upon thy face. 'Twill cool their kidneys and allay their hearts.
A box of black painting.
Bless me! You fright me, sir. Can jealousy creep into such a shape? Would you blot out heaven's workmanship?
Why, thinkest thou, fearful beauty, has heaven no part in Egypt? Pray thee, tell me, is not an Ethiop's face his workmanship, as well as the fairest ladies? Nay, more too than hers that daubs and makes adulterate beauty? Can some be pleased to lie in oils and paste at sin's appointment, which is thrice more wicked? This, which is sacred, is for sin's prevention. Illustrious persons, nay, even queens themselves, have, for the glory of a night's presentiment, to grace the work, suffered as much as this.
Enough, sir. I am obedient.
Now, I thank thee. Be fearless, love. This alters not thy beauty, though for a time obscures it from the eyes. Thou mayest be, while at pleasure, like the sun. Thou dost but case thy splendor in a cloud, to make the beam more precious in its shines. In stormy troubled weather no sun's seen, sometimes a month together. This thy case now. But let the roaring tempest once be over, shine out again and spare not.
There's some comfort.
Take pleasure in the scent first, smell to it fearlessly, and taste my care in that, how comfortable 'tis to the nostril, no foe to the feature.
He begins to paint her.
Now red and white, those two united houses, whence beauty takes her name and descent, like peaceful sisters under one roof dwelling, for a small time, farewell. Oh, let me kiss ye, now I part with ye. Now jewel up into your ebon casket. And those sparkling eyes, that sent forth modest anger to singe the hand of so unkind a painter, and make me pull it away and spoil my work, they will look straight like diamonds set in lead, that yet retain their virtue and their value. What murder have I done upon a cheek there? There's no pitying, 'tis for peace and honor, and pleasure must give way. Hold, take the tincture, and perfect what's amiss now by your glass.
Some humbler habit must be thought on too.
Please your own fancy, take my keys of all, and in pawn wardrobe you shall find to fit you.
And though I outwardly appear your drudge, 'tis fit I have a maid for private service. My breeding has not been to serve myself.
Exit Millicent.
Trust to my care for that.
One knocks.
In, is it to me your business?
Enter Phillis like a cookmaid.
Who's Phillis? Rob, you're muted.
If there is no Phillis, then I'll give it straightforwardly to Lois, because that's quite useful to have a Phillis. Yeah.
Yay! If you be Master Quicksand, sir, the master's worship here at the house.
I am, so what's your business?
'Tis upon that, sir, I would speak, sir, hoping that you will pardon my presumptuousness. I am a mother that do lack a service.
You have said enough. I'll entertain no mothers. A good maidservant knew I where to find one.
He is a knave, and like your worship, that dares say I am no maid. And for a servant, it ill becomes poor folks to praise themselves, but I were held a tidy one at home.
Oh, thou art a Norfolk woman, cry thee, Merce, where maids are mothers and mothers are maids.
I have friends in the city that will pass their words for my good bearing.
What hast thou?
Oh, yes, indeed, sir. I have a cousin that is a returnee of Lyon's Ill that will not see me wronged, and an old aunt in Muggle Street, a midwife, who knows what's what as well as another woman.
But whereabout in Norfolk wert thou bred?
At Thripper's town, sir, near the city of Norwich.
Where they live much by spinning with the rocks.
Thripping, they call it, sir.
Dost thou not know one Hulverhead that keeps an innocent in his house?
There are but few innocents in the country, sir. They're given too much to law for that. What should that Hulverhead be a counselor, sir?
No, a husbandman.
Truly, I know none.
I'm glad she does not. How knewest thou I wanted a servant?
At an old wives' house in Bow Lane that places servants, where a maid came in you put away today.
Oh, and what said she?
Truly, to speak the best and worst, forsooth, she said her fault deserved her punishment for letting of her mistress run away.
The news goes current, I am glad of that.
And that you were a very strict, hard man, but very just in all your promises. And such a master would I serve to choose.
This innocent country mother takes me. Her looks speak wholesomeness, and that old woman, that Bow Lane purveyor, hath fitted me with serviceable wear these dozen years. I'll keep her at the least this gander month, while my fair wife lies in of her black face and virgin vow, in hopes she's for my turn. Lust, when it is restrained, the more will burn.
May I make bold to crave your answer, sir?
Come in, I'll talk with you.
And exit quicksands.
Prosper now, my plot, and hulk thou art twixt wind and water shot.
And exit Phillis and end scene. So there's quite a lot of stuff to discuss there, because, I mean, thinking ahead when at the end of the last session about the question of the disguise that was coming up, and the disguise turns out to be pretty much exactly what we were expecting. But it really is doing an awful lot of business there. I mean, this isn't just, oh, you're disguised as something or other, off you go to move the plot on. Quicksand spends an incredibly long time on this disguise. I mean, it's a whole discussion. It's a whole incident that is going on for a long time, demonstrating so many things that the early modern mind is conjuring at this time. It's like we've got basically the whole gamut of here. It's semi-debated as well about the nature of beauty. Normally we have a beauty standard presented. You know, black is presented in an ugly fashion, and white is presented as something to aspire to. Here there's a bit more back and forth on that. It's still presented generally pejoratively, but there is something being expanded upon and played with. I mean, I'm thinking very much on a teaching front. This is an incredibly useful scene to be using. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually rather beautiful, a lot of what he says there. I think one reason for all this is I put in the chat that there had been, in I think it was 1606, the Masque of Blackness, in which Queen Anne and her ladies all were, in fact, blacked up. Some of the courtiers thought this was hideous, but I mean, they thought it was fine. And I mean, it's even been suggested that they might have been thinking of some recent plays in which their black characters, I mean, characters blacked up, had appeared. So that's why he says a queen, wouldn't have thought it a disgrace to wear this kind of makeup. But it's fascinating. You don't normally see people actually making up on stage. I mean, normally somebody goes off and then comes on made up. So this is really a very interesting scene.
Yes, and I think we have. There's at least one play where we actually have some makeup being, actively applied in a similar. But it's also the intimacy of that as well, or the discomfort of this person getting into your space and literally painting on your face. And it's not like a well-trained makeup artist. This is this guy Quicksands doing this, and there's something quite unpleasant about the way that works as well, in a dramatically interesting way, about what that's doing. Aaron, and then Lynn.
I don't know if we're meant to infer it or not, but I keep getting the sense Quicksands is doing this to keep anyone away from her as well. Like he's chosen a disguise she cannot take off. She's going to be painted, stained. Like this is plots within plots within plots. He's like, oh, I'll give in to you, but then I'm going to paint you in a way that if you did try to sneak out and meet somebody, they're going to find you horribly ugly and disfigured because of this. So I don't remember if he said it or indicated it earlier, but I picked that up in the scene.
Lynn, then Rachel, then Alexandra.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping yesterday that Quicksands wouldn't turn out to be quite as awful as people had made him out to be, and he wasn't really all that keen on the marriage and would be happy to let her go. And that my hopes have been dashed when he says, what is he? But basically, the longer I have to wait to consummate the marriage, like the more I'm going to want to. That lust deferred just becomes more intense. So it turned out he is kind of awful.
But there's also a property thing about this. It's like a ownership. It's like branding someone to say that you are mine, and even if we're deferring this is still what's going on. Rachel, then Alexandra, then Sarah.
Yeah, the whole face painting scene is so complex and fascinating. The reference to the Mask of Blackness is, I didn't know how widely known that was. So just a passing reference to it on the stage, how familiar the audience is with that incident at this point, I have no idea. Whether it seems interesting to me that the audience might know of it. I know that the other aristocrats were horrified by the noble women going in blackface, but how widely known that was. But the logic of Quicksands, saying, aren't Egyptians part of God's creation? You're still part of God's creation, but then culminating by calling her face paint an ebon casket. So there's a sort of, it's all over the place. But I like the way the scene foregrounds it as so you get to see the blackface being put on. It sort of denaturalizes it weirdly.
Yeah, on the note of that reference, I mean, these masks were printed, and I don't know when the last edition of Johnson's works would have been, really, and of course this is someone who was reasonably good friends with Johnson, so there may be almost a case of did the audience need to get it, or is I'm just putting it in there because as an Easter egg?
Is it in 1616 folio?
I'm assuming it's in his work. It's in the works. Off the top of my head, I'm fairly certain it would be.
Not everything's in 1616 folio, but yeah.
But you're right. It's a 30-year-old reference at this point. I mean, it really is in another universe, and I'd be surprised if it's generally a thing talked about. But there may be follow-up things and connections with it that we're not getting at this stage. We haven't done a particularly thorough look at masks. We have looked at the Mask of Blackness, but not a lot else actually in the Mask universe, and there's a lot of water under the bridge in that sense. Anyway, Alexandra, then Sarah, many more, but we'll keep brief.
Regarding the mask, it may be that even though it wasn't very recent, it was such a famous event that it remains in people's memory. in, at least by report, you know, in the way that people who have not seen Star Wars know quotes or know references from that. For example, speaking as someone who hasn't seen Star Wars, moving on. I found the line that Aaron was referring to. So Quicksand says, "This shall both kill vain attempts in me and guard you safe from all that seek subversion of your honor." And then he says it again in different words. And I think relating that to when he's actually putting the paint on her, I think there's something very interesting. I agree with all the opinions that the painting on stage makes it an interesting thing by being uncommon, but also the proximity, as you say, the intimacy of that. I don't know if we're supposed to read that as uncomfortable or if we're supposed to read that as an opportunity for intimacy, because they haven't been close. They're a married couple who are quite aware of the fact that this is a marriage of convenience. He gets close enough to be painting her and then says, "Oh, let me kiss thee before I part with you." And then he's talking about her features that he is now about to cover up or covering up in color. So there's something, I wonder if this is one of those moments, like in a lot of romantic comedies, where we're supposed to take that as an opportunity to sort of, for them to be physically close and therefore be emotionally a bit more intimate, and then something breaks that, and that we're supposed to be sympathetic to. And I find that a lot of those times, even in modern productions, you get these moments where it's like, but that's problematic behavior though. So I feel like that's the line it's straddling.
Sarah.
Yeah, I agree with Alexandra. I think there's something, I didn't read that as uncomfortable, I read it as conspiratorial, and that doesn't mean to say that it isn't problematic. But Alexandra is right. There's an awful lot in rom-coms that even today that is problematic. And I also just wanted to come back on Lynn's point about that line of Quicksand's "lust when it's restrained, the more 'twill burn." It is a really icky line. I think it's meant to be an icky line, but I'm also wondering if it's, or at least one way you could play it, is that it's performative. Because he doesn't say this to Millicent, he says it to Phillis, who he's literally just hired. And I do really feel there's something performative about Quicksands, that he's, a lot of this is...
That might be an aside, though, at that
I think
point.
it's an aside.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well then that totally messes with my plan. But I mean, the thing is, it would depend. I mean, you could play it as an aside. You could not play it as an aside, and you would get a very, very different read. What I'm saying is, I think Quicksands continues to be this character who is just really interesting, and I still don't know which way he's going to land, and I'm going to be interested because by the end of the play, depending on the different ways put it this way, if there's more than one way to play him, that might make a difference as to a big difference as to how or if you would stage this.
I mean, when I was talking earlier about the lack of comfort, it's partly because this isn't her plan. I mean, she clearly, when he suggests this, she's going, "Hang on, what?" This is his addition to the plan that she initially. So there is a power struggle going on here in this moment, and that's doing different things. We haven't talked about Phyllis very much. Phyllis has turned up and is inveigling, and hence a series of Norfolk things, which
I'm sorry, I cannot do. Yes. Right. Yes.
So yes. Anyway, Aliki, we will need to move on relatively swiftly.
Very, very quick question: is the pun available to the audience?
Which one?
Norfolk. This is a married couple who are not forking.
I don't see any reason why not, actually. I mean, I'm not saying it is, but I don't see a reason why not. The word existed, and you could make it
totally
work.
did, yeah.
Yeah, but why would Phyllis come in doing Norfolk? I mean, she doesn't know anything about this.
No, she's just doing an accent to disguise herself, but...
Yeah.
So the pun is kind of a coincidence for the benefit of the audience.
If it is designed to land as a pun. in that sense. But that's the thing to play with. You never know. We might be able to get something out of that. I think final note is before we move on is that question which we'll work towards to the ends of this, which is in terms of what does one do with a scene like this? What do we do with what this is doing within the context of the play? This isn't a straightforward let's do the disguise as something else job. I don't think, because the play is doing something here, and I think we'll need to unpack that at greater length than we may have actually in these 2 sessions remaining. Anyway, Act 3, Scene 2, enter Nathaniel, Vincent, Edmond, and Buzard.
Yeah, welcome, gentlemen.
Let's have good wine, boy. That must be our welcome.
You shall, sir.
Ambrose, Ambrose.
Here, here. Anon. By and by, I come. Jerome. Draw a quart of the best canary into the Apollo.
Exit, boy.
The language that I have not heard. You understand it, gentlemen.
So shall you, Anon, Master Buzzard.
Your friend and Jonathan Buzard, kind gentlemen.
What excellent luck had we, friend Buzard, to meet with thee just as thy master cast thee off.
Just, sir, as I was going, I know not whither, and now I am arrived at just I know not where. 'Tis a rich room, this. It is not Goldsmith's Hall.
It is a tavern, man, and here comes the wine. Fill, boy, and here's to thee, friend, a hearty draught to cheer thee. Fill again, boy. There, drink it off.
Off with it, man. Hang sorrow, cheer thy heart.
And truly, 'tis the best cheer that e'er I tasted.
Taste it better. Here's another to thee.
And truly, this was better than the first.
Then try a third. That may be best of all.
And truly so it is. How many sorts of wine of Herr Vintner bring in one pot together?
By Bacchus, Master Buzzer, that's a subtle question.
Bacchus? Who's that, I pray?
A great friend of the Vintners and master of their company, indeed.
I was never in all my life, so far, in a tavern before. What comforts have I lost?
Now he begins to talk.
Now, ever was in all my 22 years under that Babylonian tyrant Quicksand, so far as a vintner's bar, but thrice.
But thrice in all that time.
Truly but thrice, sir. And the first time was to fetch a gill of sack for my master to make a friend of his drink that joined with him in the purchase of £16,000.
Aye, there was thirst. A wine, boy. A bottle and a beer bowl.
And the second time was for a penny pot of muscadine, which he drank all himself with the neg upon his wedding morning.
And to much purpose, it seemed, by his wives running away.
The third and last time was for a half a pint of sack upon his wedding night of later memory, and I shall never forget it, that riotous wedding night, when hell broke loose, and all the devils danced at our house, which made my master mad, whose raving made my mistress run away, whose running away was the cause of my turning away. Oh, me, poor masterless wretch that I am.
Hang thy master. Here's a full bowl to his confusion.
I thank you. Let it come, sir.
Think no more of masters. Friends are better than masters.
And you are all my friends, kind gentlemen. I found it before in your money when my master, whose confusion I have drunk, took your mortgages. And now I find it in your wine. I thank you, kind gentlemen, still. Oh, I love kind gentlemen.
That shows thou art of gentle blood thyself, friend Buzzard.
Yes, friend. Shall I call you friend?
By all means.
By all means, all of us.
Why then, Oh, friends! I am a gentleman, though spoiled in the breeding. The Buzzards are all gentlemen. We came in with the Conqueror. Our name, as the French has it, is Beau Desert, which signifies... Friends, what does it signify?
It signifies that you deserve fairly at your master's hands like a gentleman, and a buzzard as you were, and he turned you away most beastly like a swine as he is. And now, here is a health to him that first finds his wife and sends her home with a bouncing boy in her belly, for him to father.
I'll pledge that, and then I'll tell you a secret.
Well said, friend. Up with that, and then out with thy secret.
I will, friend. And t'other two friends, here's upon the same.
I hope he will show us a way out of the bottom of his bowl to find his mistress.
This fellow was happily found.
Oh, this was an excellent draft.
But the secret, friend. Out with that. You must keep no secrets amongst friends.
If I prove a shrewd matter against my mischievous master, as it may be handled.
Hang him, Colleen, that would turn thee away. We'll help thee to handle it, fear it not.
Hark you then, all friends. Shall I out with it?
Tells?
I'll first take t'other cup and then out with it altogether, and now it comes. If my mistress do bring him home a bastard, she's but even with him.
He has one, I warrant, has he, Kadzooks?
That he has, by this most delicate drink, but it is the worstiest of that ever crept into the world. Sure, some goblin got it for him, or changed it in the nest, that's certain.
I vow thou utterest brave things. Is the boy?
It has gone for a boy in short coats and long coats this 27 years.
An idiot, is it?
It's a very natural, and goes the distance, and looks as old as I do now, too. And I think if my beard were off, I could be like him. I've taken great pains to practice his speech and action to make myself merry with him in the country.
Where is he kept, friend? Where is he kept?
In the further side of Norfolk, where you must never see him. 'Tis now a dozen years since his father saw him, and then he compounded for a sum of money with an old man, one Hulverhead, to keep him for his lifetime, and he never to hear of him. But I saw him within these 3 months. We hearken after him as land-sick heirs do after their fathers, in hope to hear of his end at last.
Hark you, friend, if your beard were off, could you be like him, think you? What if you cut it off, and to him for a father?
Pray thee hold thy peace.
My beard, friend. No, my beard's my honor. Hair is an ornament of honor upon man or woman.
Come, come. I know what we will do with him. Knock him down with the other cup. We'll lay him to sleep, but yet watch and keep him betwixt hawk and buzzard as he is, till we make excellent sport with him.
I'm very sleepy.
So he jukes already. Boy, show us a private room.
This way, gentlemen.
And they lead Buzard out, singing, presumably Plumpton Park is a popular tune by the latest beat combo of the 1630s. Okay, there's a lot of fun to be had out of this scene. Just straight away, there's a drunk guy with a secret. They keep filling him with more and more booze. And, and t'other two friends. I'm just wondering, is that a very early I'm seeing double joke? It doesn't have to be within the context of the scene. It could be he's talking because there are multiple people there. But it does feel like, is that our first? There are 1, 2, 3 of you, and I'm talking to the one in the middle. Kind of gag. But once again, Norfolk. And it's like this surely why Norfolk twice? I'm curious. Is there a connection with the previous scene? I didn't see that those were connected. I thought that was a coincidence. I'm confused. Everyone knows the answer to this except me, so this is good. I'll go to Lois.
Yeah, well, no, not only Norfolk, but Hulversholm was mentioned in the previous scene. And when Quicksand said, that he was glad that Phillis didn't know this man, I think we all assumed that he was trying some clever ploy to catch her out. But in fact, it turns out that he does know somebody by this name. And you can see from this why he's glad that she's never heard of him, since he's trying to keep this illegitimate idiot son a secret. What puzzles me a bit is why Nathaniel says, "Pray thee hold thy peace." He's presumably talking to Vincent. Does he not like the idea that they should impersonate this son?
I don't know. Aliki.
I took it as, don't rush it. He might figure it out. Let's just get him really drunk and shave him.
Yeah.
Right.
Beards are important in this play, as we have already discovered. One disguised beard put on, now a beard taken off, will become an important plot signifier on some level. So it's still just generally a coincidence that everyone's talking about Norfolk. So that it's not like Phillis turned up for a reason to mention disguised as someone from Norfolk. That was just a coincidence. I'm just checking that point. Phew, I wasn't going bad. Mark.
Yeah, I mean, on that front, in that previous scene, Phillis showed up, and I don't even remember that being something that was discussed. Aliki mentioned when I was asking in the chat that we knew that she had a plan to help Lucy get to Arthur, but it's a play, so I'm sure that plan will work. But why she feels like being a servant to Quicksands would make that work, that is completely baffling to me. So maybe there's something more going on there about how she knows more than we think and knows about this child. I don't know. Guess we'll see.
Yeah, but straightforward comedy jinx with people setting up a plot and engaging with a plot that we hadn't really heard very much about. So it's like they're constantly adding different hairs running in this play. It's not complicated enough. Let's have more business going on. Lois.
Yeah, I was just thinking we don't know anything about what Phillis was doing before Nathaniel deflowered her, and whether she was a servant or whether she was a lady from some good home or what. So she might have been able to pick up some useful information in her previous life, except that we don't know what it was.
Lynn. Yes.
I just wanted to throw out there we were kind of braced for the racism given the title of the play, but the ableism kind of caught me unawares. I mean, not only does he have an illegitimate son, the son is for some reason they had to make him mentally disabled. He's an idiot, like in the words of the play.
Which means if anybody impersonates him, it's going to get really embarrassing. Yes,
it's supposed to be funny, but yeah.
So that's a landmine we will begin to navigate. Okay, so we were doing so well. Anyway, Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Lucy and Theophilus.
Indeed. You were unkind to turn away my maid, poor harmless maid, whose innocent mirth was the best cheer your house afforded me.
I am sorry, sister. Trust me, truly sorry. And I knew which way to recover her with my best care I would. Yet, give me leave, I saw her overbold and overheard her say, she foresaw that Arthur, my sole enemy, should be your husband. I'll marry you to death first.
Now you fly out again.
Your pardon, again, your sister. And for your satisfaction, I will strive to oversway my passion.
Enter Arnold.
How now, Arnold? Methinks I read good news upon thy face.
The best, sir, I can tell is the old Jew Quicksands has lost his wife.
She is not dead.
'Tis not so well for him, for if she were, he then might overtake her, though she were gone to the devil. But She's run away, but to what corner of the earth or under whose bed to find her is not to be thought. It has raised such a laughter in the town among the gallant.
And do you laugh now too?
Yes, and if you do not outlaugh all men that hear the joyful news, 'tis too good for you.
I am too merciful. I'll kill thee not. Out of my doors, thou villain reprobate.
He beats Arnold.
Ah! Hold! Right, sir, hold!
Never why I'll have power to lift my hand against thee, mischievous villain.
Is not this passion, brother?
Forbear, sister. This is a cause turns patience into fury.
Arnold, forbear his sight.
And my house too, or villain look to die, oft as I see thee.
Exeunt Theophilus and Lucy.
Turned out of doors? A dainty, frantic humor in a young master. Good enough for me, though, because 'tis proper to old serving men to be so served. Course now must I take. I am too old to seek out a new master. I will not beg, because I'll cross the proverb that runs upon old serving creatures. Stealing, I have no mind to. 'Tis a hanging matter. Wit and invention, help me with some shift.
He kneels.
To help a cast-off now at a dead lift. Sweet fortune, hear my suit!
Enter Nathaniel, Vincent, Edmond.
Why, how now, Arnold? What, at thy devotion? I'll tell thee in your ear, sir, I dare trust you.
Oh, that's a bit awkward, never mind. And Nathaniel and Arnold whisper to themselves.
Good earthly man had dreamt this rascal Quicksands, whose lechery to all our thinking was good nothing but greedy avarice and cozenage, could have been all this while a concealed whoremaster, a bastard of so many years, nestled in the country.
Note the punishments that haunt the miscreant for his black misdeeds. That his base offspring proves a natural idiot. Next, that his wife, by whom he might had comfort in progeny, though of some others getting, should with her light heels make him heavy-headed by running off her country. And lastly, that the blinded wretch should cast his servant off, who was the cover of his villainy, to show us that can have no mercy on him the way to plague him. What dost laugh at?
To think how nimble the poor Buzard is to be revenged on his master. He has shaped himself, cut off his beard, and practised all the postures to act the changeling bastard.
Could we light upon some quaint old fellow now, could match him to play the clown that brings him up to town, our company were full, and we were ready to put our project into present action.
Gentlemen, we are fitted. Take this man with ye. He is the only man I would have sought to give our project life. I'll trust thee, Arnold, and trust thou me, thou shalt get pieces by it. Besides, I'll piece thee to thy master again. That clinches, sir. Go follow your directions.
Come away then.
Exeunt Vincent, Arnold, and Edmond.
Ah, sweet mirth, thou art my mistress. I could serve thee, and shake the thought off of all womankind, but that old wants are hardly less. A man that's entered in his youth and thoroughly salted in documents of women hardly leaves while reins or brains will last him. 'Tis my case. Yet mirth, when women fail, brings sweet encounters that tickle up a man above their sphere. They dull, but mirth revives a man. Who's here?
Enter Arthur.
The solitary musing man called Arthur, possessed with serious vanity. Oh, mirth to me. The world is full. Cannot peep my head forth, but I meet mirth in every corner. Ha ha! Sure, some old runt with a splay foot has crossed him. Hold up thy head, man. What dost seek? Thy grave? I would scarce trust you with a piece of earth you would choose to lie in, though, if some plump mistress or a deft lass were set before your search.
How vainly this man talks.
Gid ye good den, forsooth. How vainly this man talks. Speak but truth now. Does not thy thought now run upon a wench? I never looked so, but mine stood that way.
'Tis all your glory that, and to make boast of the variety that serves your lust, yet not to know what woman you love best.
Not I, Kadzooks, but all alike to me, since I put off my wench I kept at livery. But of their use I think I have had my share, and have loved every one best of living women. A dead one I ne'er coveted. That's my comfort. But of all ages that are pressable, from 16 unto 60, and of all complexions, from the white flaxen to the tawny Moor, and of all statures between dwarf and giants, of all conditions, from the doxy to the dousabel, of all opinions, I will not say religious, for what make they with any? And of all features and shapes, from the hucklebacked bum creeper to the straight spiny shopmaid in St. Martin's. Briefly, all sorts and sizes I have tasted.
And thinkest thou hast done well in it?
As well as I could with the worst of them, I'll say it. Few men come after me that mend my work.
But thou never thinkest of punishments to come? Thou dreamst not of diseases, poverty, the loss of sense or member, or the cross common to such loose livers, an ill marriage? A hell on earth to scourge thy conscience.
Yes, when I marry, let me have a wife to have no mercy on me. Let the fate of a stale, doting bachelor fall upon me. Let me have quicksand's curse to take a wife will run away next day and prostitute herself to all the world before her husband.
Nay, that will be too good. If I foresee anything in thy marriage destiny, 'twill be to take a thing that has been common to the world before, and live with thee perforce to thy perpetual torment.
Close that point. I cannot marry. Will you be merry, Arthur? I have such things to tell thee.
No, I cannot.
Pray thee, come closer to me. What has crossed thee? Is thy supposed slain father come again to dispossess thee for another lifetime? Or has thy valiant sister beaten thee? Tell me, it shall go no further.
Let your valiant wit and jocund humor be supposed no warrant for you to abuse your friends by.
Why didst tell me of marrying then? But I have done. And now, speak what troubles you.
I care not if I do, for 'twill be town talk. My sister, on a private discontent betwixt herself and me, hath left my house.
Gone quite away?
Yes, and I know not whither.
Beyond sea, sure, to sight with the air that took her father's last breath into it. Went she alone?
No, my man's gone with her.
Who, the fellow that brags on his back so? The stiff, strong-chinned rascal?
Even he.
The devil is in these young tits, and wildfire in their cruppers.
Let me charm you. By all our friendship, you nor speak nor hear an ill construction of her activeness. I know her thoughts are noble, and my woe is swollen unto that fullness, that the addition but of word in scorn would blow me up into a cloud of wild distempered fury over the heads of all whose looser breath dare raise a wind to break me. Then I fall a sudden storm of ruin on you all.
Exit Arthur.
I know not how to laugh at this. Comes so near my pity. But all to my Griggs again, and there we'll find new mirth to stretch and laugh like tickled wenches, hand or head.
Exit Nathaniel, a person who has just declared he will basically shag anything. Considering that we've had a lengthy series of references to Norfolk, I think the sheep will be afraid. This is, doing all sorts of things. Nathaniel, again, it's a really interesting part to be giving an actor, just in the sense that there's a lot of fun to be had from playing such an awful person who's just clear. I mean, I'm hoping his comeuppance is really good, because it's like this play just keeps setting him up for something awful to happen to him. And, Arthur is sort of just looking at him going, dude, have you visited a clinic anytime soon, recently? Because I'm really worried about you. Lois. Muted at present.
I hardly ever mute because this happens. Yeah, no, I'm worried too, because I think the only possible ending is going to be for him to marry Phillis, presumably in a masked or mock marriage or something. I mean, it's the only thing she can have, really. I mean, however attractive she may be, she's now been violated. This means that she can only marry the man that did it.
Yes, we've been here before.
Yeah.
It's always such a satisfactory ending to a play.
Yeah, and he's probably riddled with diseases, so that'll be great.
Yeah. So yeah, fun and Arthur's and they're sort of there's an element to this scene is sort of seems to be largely, hi, should we just bring up some plot points from earlier in the play just to remind the audience that the plot points are there, because it's like there's some plot points that we need to remember are going on, and that'll be helpful, won't it? And it's like they do that for a bit, and they're trying, and the playwright is trying to make it moderately entertaining by throwing all this stuff in, just to keep it sort of ticking over, as it were. Thoughts? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I just mentioned in the chat that some parts of that speech are so fun, especially and I've loved every one best of living women. A dead one, I know. I'd love that he specifically gets into the fact that he's not into necrophilia.
It's like it's the kind of guy who does need to be very explicit about actually where his boundaries lie, because actually they are quite expansive, and just to be clear, not doing that. But, Aaron.
Well, I put it in the chat, but I just have to observe he draws no line. He just says he was never attracted to a dead one. He hasn't yet encountered the corpse that would rouse him.
It's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
and he takes comfort in that. He's like, I'm glad it hasn't happened yet.
I feel we may have an alternative ending. Right. The corpse of his dreams is awaiting us at the end of the play. Lois.
Yeah, well, I did wonder actually whether anybody's thinking about the play, which is called variously The Second Maiden's Tragedy or The Lady's Tragedy, where in fact,
alas, we have not we have not done it yet, so
right.
I'm going to ask you not to bring up anything there. I apologise, but yes, one day, it won't be long before we do it, but not yet.
Okay.
Okay, and anything else? It's beyond just this litany of terrible things. Okay, and it's also, it's the way he goes off again, going, I'll go off and do some more stuff, and it's like going, there's part of me sort of wondering, yeah, sure you are, mate. Yeah, sure you are. Anyway, that was Act 3. Let us dive into Act 4. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Dionysia in a man's habit, more disguise, and Rafe.
How does my habit and my arms become me?
Too well to be a woman, manly mistress.
Where's the pistol you provided for me?
Here, mistress, and a good one.
'Tis too long.
No lady would wish a shorter. If it were, it would bear no charge or carry nothing home.
I'll try what I can do. Thou think'st me valiant? I'm sure I have often felt it.
All the viragos that are found in story, Penthesilea and Semiramis, were no such handy strikers as yourself, but they had another stroke. Could you but find it, then you were excellent. I could teach it you?
I dare not understand thee yet. Be sure, as you respect my honour or your life, that you continue constant to my trust, and so thou canst not know how much I'll love thee.
There is as hope as good now as a promise.
Here, at this inn abide, and wait my coming. Be careful of my guidings. Be not seen abroad, for fear my brother may surprise you. There's money for you, and ere that be spent, 'tis like I shall return.
Exit Dionysia.
Best stars attend you, Mars arm thee all the day, and Venus light thee home into these amorous arms at night.
Exit Rafe. Okay, this is sort of painting more into the stuff with Rafe. It does seem that Dionysia does seem to be sort of encouraging some of his. She is hitting him, but she's also. So it does feel like she's to make sure that he's on side. This is an odd little double-edged sword, because there was some dialogue like that earlier, and I think it wasn't helped by the fact we didn't have asides and things to tidy up what was going on. Alan, then Sarah.
Have we just entered the female highwayman plot?
Well,
It
possibly.
feels horribly like it.
She has. You know, we've heard that she's left. I can't remember. Did she actually state a plan? I don't think she did. She was just had an argument with her brother. So the plan is developing here, and we've got disguise. This play is all about disguise. I think that's fair. And yeah, maybe your money or your life. Maybe this Dionysia's plot is going to move in an interesting direction. Sarah, then Rachel.
Oh man, I really hope she turns out to be a highwaywoman. I do have previous in that line, but never mind. Not actually, not no.
The court case is ongoing.
Yeah, indeed. No, I was just going to say it is interesting. I mean, I'm reading this cold, so I don't know how she's going to turn out. I assumed in the first scene when I say the first scene we had today, that she was sort of saying, "Oh, I will love you if you do this for me," that she was sort of doing it to, sort of lead him on basically and make sure he was on side, and that it was quite a cynical thing she was doing. And that's kind of how I'm playing it. But having just read that scene, I'm not sure now, actually. Maybe I don't know. It's yet another aspect of this play where I can't actually, in spite of the fact that it's full of all the tropes that we're used to and we kind of know where the overall plot is going, I actually can't call it with this particular plot detail as to whether she's genuinely in love with him or not. There's just a whole load of little details in this play that kind of throw you off the usual early modern comedy scent.
Rachel.
We have talked about the changeling, right?
We have, yes. We've done the changeling and everything.
Because Dionysia here reminds me a little bit of the predicament that Beatrice Joanna gets herself into by plotting with a servant who she thinks that she doesn't realize the depths of the plotting that she's got herself into, or may not realize, and can't get herself out afterwards. So I think she's, I don't know.
Yeah, that was obviously a tragedy, whereas this is a comedy, so we're assuming that it's not going to go too dark, but who knows? Who knows? Okay, short scene, so we won't linger any longer. Deep breath, everyone. Act 4, Scene 2. Enter quicksands, Millicent, her face black.
Be cheered, my love, help to bear up the joy that I conceive by thy concealed beauty, thy rich imprisoned beauty, whose enfranchisement is now at hand, and shall shine forth again in its admired glory. I am wrapped above the sphere of common joy and wonder in the effects of this our quaint complot.
In the meantime, though you take pleasure in it, my name has dearly suffered.
But thine honor shall, in the vindication of thy name, when envy and detraction are struck dumb, gain an eternal memory with virtue. When the discountenanced wits of all my jurors shall hang their heads and fall like leaves in autumn, oh, how I laugh to hear the cozened people as I pass on the street abuse themselves by idle questions and false reports. As thus, our master Quicksands, pray, how fares your beauteous bedfellow? Says another, I hear she's not at home. A third says, no. I saw her yesterday at the steelyard with such a gallant sousing. Their dried tongues in Rhenish, deal and back rag. Then a fourth says he knows all her haunts and meetings at Bridgefoot, Bear, the Tuns, the cats, the squirrels, where, when, and in what company to find her, but that he scorns to do poor me the favor, because a light piece is too good for me. While a fifth, with counterfeit show of pity, meets and bewails my case, and says he knows a lord must be nameless, keeps my wife in an enchanted castle 2 miles west upon the riverside. But all conclude
that you are a monstrous cuckold and deserve it.
Knowing my safety then and their foul errors, have I not cause to laugh? Yes, in abundance. Now note my plot. And the height of my invention, I have already given out to some that I have certain knowledge you are dead and had a private burial in the country, at which my shame, not grief, forbade my presence. Yet some way to make known unto the world a husband's duty, I resolved to make a certain kind of feast which shall advance my joy above the reach of spite or chance.
May I partake, sir, of your rich conceit?
Tomorrow night expires your limited month of vowed virginity. It shall be such a night in which I mean thy beauty shall break forth and dazzle with amazement, even to death, those my malicious enemies that rejoiced in thy supposed escape and my vexation. I will invite them all to such a feast as shall fetch blushes from the boldest guest. I have the first course ready.
And if I fail in the second, blame my housewifery.
And one knocks.
Away, somebody comes. I guess of them that have jeered me, whom I must jeer again.
Exit Millicent.
Gallant, you're welcome. I was sending for you.
Enter Nathaniel, Vincent, and Edmond.
To give us that we come for?
What may that be?
Rifles you have of ours?
Of yours, my masters.
Yes, you have in mortgage £60 land of mine inheritance.
And my annuity of 100 marks.
And jewels, watches, plate, and clothes of mine pawned for £400. Will you restore all?
You know all these were forfeited long since. Yet I come roundly to you, gentlemen. Have you brought my monies and my interest?
No, surely. But we'll come as roundly to you as moneyless gentlemen can. You know good offices are ready money, sir.
But have you offices to sell, good sirs?
We mean to do you offices worth your money.
As how, I pray you?
Marry, sir, as thus. We'll help you to a man that has a friend.
That knows a party that can go to the house.
Where a gentleman dwelt that knew a scholar.
That was exceeding well acquainted with the traveller.
That made report of a great magician beyond the seas.
That might have been as likely as any man in all the world.
To have helped you to your wife again.
You are the merriest mates that e'er I coped withal. But to be serious, gentlemen, I am satisfied concerning my lost wife. She has made even with me and all the world.
What, is she dead?
Dead. Dead. And therefore, as men use to mourn for kind and loving wives, and call their friends to their choicest friends unto a solemn banquet served with sighs and sadness, while the widowers blubber and bathe in tears, which they do seem to wring out of their fingers' ends and noses, and after all the demure ceremony, are subjects to be thought dissemblers. I, to avoid the scandal of hypocrisy, because 'tis plain she loved me not, invite you and your like that loved her and not me, to see me in the pride of my rejoicings. You shall find entertainment worth your company, and that let me entreat tomorrow night.
Shall have mine.
Tomorrow night, say you?
Yes, gallants, fail not, as you wish to view your mortgages and pawns again. Adieu.
Exit Quicksands.
We came to jeer the Jew, and he jeers us.
Glad the rascal is for his wife's death.
An honest man could not have had such luck.
He has some further end in it, could we guess it, than a mere merriment for his dead wife's riddance.
Perhaps he's got a new wife and intends to make a funeral and a marriage feast in one to hedge in charges.
He'll be hanged rather than marry again.
Zooks, would he had some devilish jealous hilding, 'twould be a rare addition to his mirth for us to bring our antic in betwixt them of his changeling bastard.
Where we'll grace his feast with our presentment.
Where's the Buzard?
We left him with his foster father, Arnold, busy at rehearsal, practicing their parts.
They shall be perfect by tomorrow night.
Not unto our profit, our delight.
And exit. So, I'm increasingly going with this is designed for act breaks because a month has passed since the last time anyone looked at the clock. And yes, we return to the Millicent plot line here, and it seems very interesting that Millicent pretty much stops talking after this transformation's taken place. Is that Quicksands, the amount that he says just seems to get longer and longer and longer, and not just to her, but just generally as well. I think this way that his character seems to be expanding in this fashion. Alexandra.
They continue to be rounded characters, which is delightful. He's having a wonderful time, and the first thing she says is, though you take pleasure in it, my name has dearly suffered. And I love that her next line, once he's gone on this whole journey of, and people will be talking about me, and I have a great lot of fun thinking about how people all conclude that you're a monstrous cuckold and deserve it, is what she says, which I absolutely love. I wanted to point out something that we've kind of been discussing, but only in chat, I think, yesterday as well as today, which is that people keep calling Quicksand stew. Because we want to cover all the bases of potential offense, and yesterday we were thinking we're expecting some anti-Semitism, and the fact that it is becoming clear that Jew is the insult because he is a usurer. But what I found very painful right at the beginning was this line of Quicksands is about enfranchisement is now at hand, said to even a fake black person at a time when there was transatlantic trade, which was flourishing. It's obviously, to us as a modern audience, it's one of the many things in this play that sort of hits quite painfully. I wonder whether that might have been something either completely different in intention in its own time, or potentially it's part of the humanizing of, because earlier in his previous scene he was humanizing black people, and representing beauty as more diverse and all of this. So I'm wondering whether this play might be doing more than we are seeing in it about the issues that we find problematic.
Yeah, Lois.
That's interesting. I mean, I thought this was just part of the same imagery he used when he talked about the ebony casket that he's concealing her beauty in, i.e. the black paint, and then the idea that she's going to be freed from this black paint and, burst forth in her natural beauty. But the idea that enfranchisement could possibly, I really don't know how far he's aware of a slave trade. I mean, there was certainly a slave trade, which one usually sees happening in North Africa, I think, or, in Mediterranean countries, there are scenes of slaves being sold. But I don't recall any plays that talk about slaves being sold in England, actually.
What I meant wasn't that the character is aware of it, just that it's through the...
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of work to actually look into the way it's functioning actually within its society at the time, because even though the slave trade is effectively a sort of outsourced thing in the sense of people it's happening somewhere else. That's how it's always presented and looked upon, but that doesn't mean that people aren't actually aware or on some level engaging with it. It's just mostly distanced, and therefore makes it harder to actually assess what is actually going on. That's I think for further looks and discussions, and then these chaps come in and say some stuff. Though I really like their shared lines. I thought that was really interesting that they've rehearsed this and they've got this plan. It's not a great plan. Let's not pretend that anything anyone's doing here is on some level reasonably reprehensible. Okay, Quicksands may deserve all sorts of things, but it feels like there's an awful lot of potential collateral damage in what everyone is doing here, and I'm really not sure where any of this is going in a good way, rather than, oh look, I'm sure this will be hilarious. So yeah, Aaron.
As despicable as he is, I kind of enjoy the careful painting of Quicksands as largely uninterested in what a normal person would be interested in. He wants power. He wants power over other people. He wants power. Like he delights that he doesn't care if they're calling him cuckold. He's delighting that he's made them call him cuckold. Like they're doing this because of falsehoods I have put out there that they believe. Therefore, I am truly in power. And he doesn't even really like everything he's doing. I think it's a really nice painting of just this guy just wants to be in charge. And even if it kind of to his own detriment, to his own lack of enjoyment in life, what he gets pleasure out of is this control.
And this is also one of the things, I don't know if many plays we've done sort of touch on this, but the thing about people who do practical jokes is usually it actually just backfires on them at some point, and just leaves them in a deeply unpleasant, uncomfortable place. So I'm curious about what comes around and turns around in that sense. Lois, then we'll move on.
Yeah. Yes, no, I think Quicksands has been extremely well delineated and is interesting. It must have been a part for a really good actor because it's he is quite often on top of the situation as well as sort of a victim of things. I think he reminds me a bit of Allwit in The Chaste Maid and Cheapside, which I think we have read. Millicent's Chaste Maid, or have we?
I think we might not, but
right.
It's again on a spectrum of plays whose titles are quite similar to others.
Okay, well, there's a type of character called a whittle. All wit is sort of whittle in reverse, and the whittle is the contented cuckold, the kind of cuckold that doesn't mind being a cuckold because he's getting something out of it. And I think he may partly be in that line of descent, but you know, he's really been worked on as a role for a really good actor.
Anyway, we will move on into Act 4, Scene 3. Enter Theophilus and Lucy.
Sorry, my thing got stuck. Brother, be comforted.
Let not the name or empty sound of comfort mix with the air that must invade these ears. They are not capable, or if they be, they dare not for themselves give the conveyance of a syllable into my heart that speak not grief or sorrow.
Be grieved then. I'll grieve with you. For each sigh you waste for Millicent's untimely death, I'll spend a tear for your as fruitless sorrow.
That's most unsuitable. You are no company for me to grieve with. If you grieve for me, take the same cause with me. You are no friend or sister else of mine. It is enough to set the world a-weeping.
No, so it is, all but the stony part of it.
Now you are right. Her husband's of that part. He cannot weep by nature, but I'll find a way by art and chemistry to melt him, at least extract some drops. But do you weep indeed for Millicent? What, all these tears?
All for your love.
She is my love indeed, and was my wife. But for the empty name of marriage only. But now she's yours forever. You enjoy her.
I think this is her line now. Yeah.
Okay, give it a go, Lucy. From where?
But for the empty name of marriage only.
No, I think...
But now she's yours forever. You enjoy her. In her fair blessed memory, in her goodness, and all that has prepared her way for glory.
Let me embrace thee, sister. How I reverence any fair honour that is done to her. Now thou shalt weep no more. Thou hast given me comfort in showing me how she's mine, and tears indeed are all weak to sacrifice for her, but such as the heart weeps.
Sit down, brother. Sing, boy, the mournful song I bade you practice.
And a page has entered and sings a song which we don't have.
Call you this mournful? 'Tis a wanton air. You a naughty child indeed. I'll whip you if you give voice unto such notes.
I know not, brother, how you like the air, but in my mind the words are sad. Pray read it.
They are sad indeed. How now, my boy, dost weep? I am angry. I am not angry now. Rob, you're muted.
I was just saying, I haven't given out a page, have I? Lois, read the page, will you?
I do not weep, sir, for myself, but there's a youth without, a handsome youth, whose sorrow works in me. He says he wants a service and seeks yours.
Dost thou not know him?
No, but I pity him.
Oh, good boy, that canst weep for a stranger's misery. The sweetness of thy dear compassion even melts me too. What does he say he is?
'Tis that, sir, that will grieve you when you hear it. He is a poor kinsman to the gentlewoman lately deceased that you so loved and mourned for.
And dost thou let him stay without so long? Merciless villain, run and fetch him quickly.
Brother.
Sister, can I be too zealous in such a cause as this? For hark you, sister.
Enter Dionysia. I
There
wonder
was
if this
no-
is Dionysia's line, though. I think this is a continued line. Yeah. Continue Theophilus on that line of Dionysia's there.
There was no way like to get this without him. Now, courage, keep true touch with me. I'll vex your cunning and actual purpose, brother. Oh no, may not be my
No,
line.
that's definitely my line.
Yeah.
There was no way like this to get within him. Now, courage, keep true touch with me. I'll vex your cunning and unnatural purpose, brother, if I do nothing else.
Sir, here's the youth.
A lovely one he is, and wondrous like her. Oh, let me run and clasp him, hang about him, and yoke him to me with 1,000 kisses. I shall be troublesome and heavy to thee, with the pleased weight of my incessant love, youth of a happy kindred, which foreruns a happy fortune ever. Pray thee, sister, is he not very like her?
If I durst, I would now say this were the better beauty, for it resembles Arthur's.
Is it not her face? You do not mind me, sister?
Hers was a good one, once, and this is now.
Why, sister, you will want to take delight in any comfort that belonged to me, and help to carry my joy sweetly. Now, you'll keep no constant course with me.
This man melts me. Alas, sir, I am a poor boy.
What? An ally to her? Impossible! Where'er thou lift'st her name to fortune to thee, her memory amongst good men sets thee up. Is it a word that commands all in this house?
Oh, this snare was not well laid. I fear myself.
Live, my companion, my especial sweet one, my brother and my fellow bedfellow thou shalt be.
By Lakin, but I must not, though I find it but weak matter against it. This is my courage.
She took from earth. How kind is heaven, how good to send me yet a joy so near in blood. Good noble youth, if there be any more distressed of you that claims alliance with her, though far off, deal freely. Let me know it. Give me thy sad names. I'll seek 'em out, and like a good great man in memory humble, ne'er cease until I plant 'em all in fortunes, and see 'em grow about me.
I hear of none, myself excepted, sir.
Thou shalt have all my cure then, and all my love.
What make I hear? I shall undo myself.
You note him, sister?
Aye, there's the mark my malice chiefly aims at. But then he stands so near, I wound him too. I feel that must not be. Art must be shown here.
Come, you shall kiss for him for me, and bid him welcome.
You are most welcome, sir. And were her name to which you are allied a stranger here, yet, sir, believe me, you and those fair eyes bring your own welcome with you.
Never came malice amongst so sweet a people. It knows not how to look, nor I on them.
And let not your gentle modesty make you seem ungentle to us by turning so away.
That's well said, sister. But he will and shall be bolder with us ere we part.
I shall too much, I fear.
Come, gentle blushing, let not a misery be thought on here. If ever were any were so rude to touch thee, between us will divide the comfort of thee.
End of scene. Some speech attributions aside. The emotions. Lynn.
It's getting so complicated. Like, first we've got this bastard son in the country that we didn't know about, so we have leverage against quicksand. And then we have Dionysia deciding she's going to take revenge into her own hands when she dresses up as a boy. We never saw that before, like early modern bingo. And then she shows up at her enemy's house, and they both fall in love with her. It's just like, it's so much is going on.
Yeah, it's sort of, it really is just sort of cramming all the things in. They're just all the things. Mark, then Lois.
I'd love to think that their dads just fell in love with each other and left town together. That would be my preference, because this would be a nice little mirror of that.
Yeah, I'm content with that. That's fine by me. Lois.
Yeah, I mean, Dionysia has come in with a pistol, and presumably she was intending to shoot one or the other of them, but they're so close together that she might get the wrong one, especially given what pistols were like in that period. So she's sort of stuck, and of course she's immediately fallen in love with Theophilus anyway. What a funny situation.
Then you got the page who's just a random page. It's like, what are you here for? I'm to set up the rest of the scene. Oh, good. Alexandra.
And sing this song.
Yeah.
I really like, somebody mentioned in the chat, this thing that Dionysia is there with the pistol going, I'll show my brother how to exact revenge. And then she actually meets them, and they're so nice. And they're so kind to her, because they're falling in love with her. But that's what her line is, near the end. And yes, this thing that, her love for Theophilus was definitely fake when she spoke it. And it's growing in that direction. But also, I think I love the mirror that this is to also Arthur saving Theophilus, by accident, and then Theophilus feeling like he has this debt of gratitude. This remained in the depths of yesterday, that Theophilus was trying to find who the man that saved him was in order to thank him. And so yes, that we're now having a mirror of that situation where Dionysia also is experiencing what Arthur experienced. I think there's something quite delightful and endearing that could be brought in a modern production, could be brought out of these things. That again, we're not experienced with not experiencing a lot in writing of that period.
Lois, then Erin.
Yeah, I mean, it is much more complex than we're used to, I think. But the only thing that worries me is that Theophilus is still madly in love with Millicent, who is presumably going to be free some way or other for him. But meanwhile, Dionysia has fallen in love with him. So, oh dear. And she is the revengeful type.
Yes. Hey, what's a little revenge between friends? Erin.
I'm still picking up that kind of adolescent drama of, but she said she loved him. No, but then remember she yelled at me because she was faking loving him. Well, but now she does love him. Well, there's that whole thing is still going on. And I also, just off of this discussion, I recall some other play where someone spent a great deal of time arguing with themselves about whether or not they should or should not avenge their father's death. And this seems to be the comedic counter to that, of these people just they keep trying, but they, as Alexandra said, but they're so nice. I don't know. Do I really want to bother? Like, is revenge really that important? Why don't I just settle down with somebody and have a good time? So there's just it's kind of like we can get through that quicker, I guess, because of the plays we have in the background. We can kind of skip a lot of stuff and have more fun with it in this version. I don't know.
Okay, we're moving into final thoughts territory, and this play is throwing so many things at us in different ways, so many things that are very positive. I mean, it's an early modern play world, so it's full of lots of issues that some of which can be shrugged off and say, well, look, it's set in the early modern period. It is an early modern play. We're going to expect some problematic content. Then, of course, we have the central question of what to do with this central problem with Millicent. But to a degree, I have to say, it's sort of almost solved itself so far, because a month has passed and nothing has been done with that element. It's a very powerful scene for teaching. I think it's very useful, actually, and may be very useful in the future as something to be looking at. But actually, in terms of what the plot does, she's just disappeared into the house. And actually, you don't necessarily need any of that. Or you could stage it in a semi-abstract sense. At the moment, I'm thinking about the sense that she largely stops talking from that point onwards. And so there might be something that could be done with that. I mean, basically, I'm thinking on a very practical level, regardless of whether the rights and wrongs of staging this. I'm just thinking I can't think of many actors who would want to play Millicent with that scene in place, or for that matter, if you did find someone who was enthusiastically wanting to play it, whether necessarily you'd want to hire them. So there's a whole series of those issues there. It partly depends on how that plot line's going to resolve, but actually, in terms of the rest of the play and what could be done with that, I'm very curious about. Actually, is there a play that is, in a very general way, actually quite stageable, rather than something that we're looking at as an example of something that's out there? I'm not saying that's an absolute. I'm sure there are other opinions and thoughts. Please keep it nice and open. I'll go for final thoughts. If you don't really have any final thoughts, feel free to pass on to the next person. But I'll start with Alexandra.
Just because it's relating to your point, I think the issue. So I won't be here when this when the last part of this reading occurs, but I am certain from Quicksand's plot of having a big event where he invites everyone in order to laugh at them for laughing at him, that his Moor will be a feature, which I think scuppers this plan. I think if that were not the case, you could actually do this play with that scene, with the painting on, and not the scene afterwards where she appears painted. So that you get the fact that it's something they've agreed to, you get the fact that it's happening and what they're doing about it, you get that Quicksands is very happy afterwards with how things are going, and that Millicent doesn't even want to show her face, and you reach the conclusion where she is undisguised, defied. And I think you could do that with a modern production and utilize the knowledge of them doing something, of them agreeing to and enacting something that we as a modern audience are horrendously against, in the same way as some recent plays have had problematic issues that we are somehow content with happening just off stage. So I think if that were possible, that would be a way forward, and because so much of the rest of this play has been so good in how the plot lines are kind of constructed into and around each other. Similarly, we've never seen the idiot son. If we can get around seeing him, the fact that people are verbally abusive about it is a problem of those people. It's not something that we, the play, approve of. So I think there's a lot of potential if there are ways of ensuring that the problematic content is linked to people whose opinions it is, rather than a thing that we, the project, are presenting and trying to get you, the audience, to accept. I think that it's got really good legs.
Mark, any final thoughts?
Yeah, coming from an angle of, you know, saying let's not in any capacity have, actual blackface staged on this in a production of this. So far it seems doable to cut out that entire aspect of the show. I do think whoever's doing that cutting would run into like a little bit of challenge of like what you do with those sequences, because like do you have some sort of conversation that is kind of showing this changed power dynamic that occurred from the moment of him saying like, no, you're going to do my idea for a disguise. Do you still keep that in some way or not? And I think that all of this will partly be based on where the plot goes from here, and whether it's how central this plot point is going to be to the rest of the plot, and how much it can be easily be substituted by something else.
Aaron.
I like the idea. We've had masks earlier. We had the cuckold mask section, and if you keep that, you could definitely have her put in some kind of mask. You can kind of carry through one of the elements. I think you lose this idea that this is something forced on her. The point of the paint being that it is not something she can easily remove. So if you did it in some kind of garment or mask or man in the iron mask or whatnot, it wouldn't. I'm wondering if you avoid the black part of the blackface. If you instead paint something very tribal, something very non-English, something with a patterns, designs, and so on, if that helps you at all, so that it is not a blackface, but instead simply, a way of disguising how she looks and making her unrecognizable, but not necessarily painting her as a race or not. If that gets around some of the problematic stuff.
It might be that we fall down a different problematic avenue rather than necessarily sidestep it. I mean, it's a. I mean, what's interesting is that scene is so powerful in so many ways. There's just a question of the ethics and the right and the motivation and the reason for actually presenting it has to be very carefully thought through to really be justified. Sarah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it is a really powerful scene, and I agree that it could be a really good teaching unit, but I also can't help wishing that the playwright had just had Quicksand's, dress her up as a serving boy and put her in his kitchen for a month, because this is actually a really good play and there is so much about it that I am really enjoying. And I'm like, oh, crap. Because it's rare that I enjoy a comedy this much. Although, having said that, we are not yet at the final session, and this has happened before where I've really liked a comedy and then really not liked it by the end of the play. But so I don't know. What I am really enjoying about this is all the things that people have talked about before. I'm liking the complexity of the characters, the women characters especially. And I'm just really liking the fact that I don't entirely know how this is going to be worked out. It's really interesting for a play that has so many, comedy tropes in it, that I'm not entirely certain. Normally by this point I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. She's going to marry him and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I don't, this could go one of several ways. And that is just so refreshing. I'm just a bit gutted about the blackface, and I don't really see a way around it at this stage. But we haven't got to the final part yet. But I suspect that Alexandra is going to be right, and that it's going to turn out to be a major plot point in the final third. We'll see.
Yes, just to leap on your idea, if she was dressed up as a maid or something along those lines. I think one of the important elements of that scene that I'd like to keep is that sense of control. This is your costume. This is what you look like now, which could still be quite disturbing. And I think there's something there that is actually, even within a comedy nexus, could be explored.
And you could totally keep that as if she was a servant, you could totally keep that power imbalance. Like here, wear this, become a scullery maid, become a a boy or whatever. Like, but
and it becomes a more
that's not
explicit
there.
comment on actually what marriage actually for an early modern woman actually was on that level. So there's potential, and especially as it's not uncommon for us to get to the end of a comedy and say we need to rewrite this anyway. There's room for rewriting all the way through. Potentially, if we're saying Act 5 goes for Burton, then there's always those options. Lois, any final thoughts?
Yeah, there are several things that puzzle me. I mean, one is, of course, the role of those three gallants. There tend to be characters like that in an awful lot of Caroline plays, and I can never make out if the audience thought they were all delightful and funny, but they are really pretty revolting, especially Nathaniel, of course. I don't know whether they're going to get some sort of comeuppance, but they appear to be engineering another practical joke with the illegitimate son that I take it they're going to bring in to this party at the end. And I don't know. I just hope this backfires on them somehow or other. It would be lovely if the son turned out to be perfectly intelligent and had been putting on an act all his life, like everybody else in the play. The other thing is, it really occurred to me that if you put an actual black actor into this, it would just change the whole thing completely, which is presumably what's going to happen in the production of The Wanamaker, the Red Not Dead one, because
the one that happened 14 months ago. Yes.
Oh, I haven't. No, it isn't. It's. I think it's the one I booked for, isn't it? You mean?
Yes, that happened 14 months ago. Yes.
Oh.
And this is released.
In the sense of when we released this.
Oh, yes, right. Well, I've seen a photograph. I mean, there appear to be only 4 actors in it, so they're obviously doing a kind of workshop type production. But the 2 of them are black, and so there's obviously going to be a very different feel to it.
Yes, there's a reason why we're doing this our workshop through the complete text now is because I want to actually know what was going on before I went to see something that was more in the direction of an adaptation. Anyway, awkward thing over. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to echo Sarah a lot a bit. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that scene. It's like if I were in charge, say you have to do this play. It's like I'm not doing that scene. I'm not doing that. And I think her idea of like a serving boy, him changing her gender rather than her race might be equally effective, particularly if he makes her change clothes right in front of him, which wouldn't have happened in the early modern period. Like men and women didn't actually watch each other dressed if they had servants anyway, but not everybody knows that. So yeah, I'm not doing that. But like Sarah, I'm interested in like how is this going to work out? I assume that Theophilus and Millicent were going to end up together somehow, but now Dionysia is in love with Theophilus, so are they going to end up together? Because you don't want Dionysia mad at you, whether it's for killing your father or for rejecting you romantically. You don't want this woman mad at you. So my curiosity is piqued, but there's some stuff that it's just I wouldn't do it.
Connor, any final thoughts? The answer can be no, by the way. It's just a pass. You're muted at the moment. You have a thought, but you cannot unmute. I'll go to somebody else while you try and figure out how to unmute. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's bouncing along quite nicely in terms of the speed of the action. I must admit, I'm getting a lot of flashbacks to Boys' Company material, which is way in the past when this is happening, because there are a significant number of lines which seem to be the sort of Boys' Company double entendre that we got quite used to when we had a spate of those earlier. And I think making any decisions about how and what we can cut of the problematic elements will all depend on the remaining third of the play and which bits are key to the resolution.
Yes. And that we will find out next time. Can you unmute yet? No. I'll go to Rachel. Any final thoughts?
But just to your point about how difficult casting Millicent would be, when I realized that this is the scene I was going to have to read, I thought, oh dear God, no. And I was quite happy that she was quite reluctant to participate in the face painting, the blackface. And I'm just thinking, I really like the point about that it's marking her and marking his ownership of her. There are other things that could do that. It could be a scold's bridle, it could be a chastity belt. There are lots of contemporary other ways of, him marking his ownership of her. It doesn't work in exactly the same way. I think there are things you could do to get around the blackface in this play, perhaps. Although I share the concern that it's going to be pretty central in the next bit, the final bit. Yeah.
Yes, well, which we will find out next time. Aliki, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I too suspect it's going to be central, but also there's so much plot going on that I'm having trouble disentangling it in my head. But it's been a really interesting play, and I'm suddenly very interested in this period, which I had completely dismissed as a period of drama that existed. So that's cool.
Yes, people are often very unfair to the Caroline period. Connor, any joy? No. With the pop something in the chat if you like. I'll go to Lois briefly before I close the session.
As I recall, one of the verses in the Beaumont and Fletcher folio of 1647 praised the kind of plotting of the sort of play associated with them, which isn't necessarily by either Beaumont or Fletcher, and incredibly entangled, and you just can't figure out how it's going to end. And then at the end, you're just so delighted with how things have worked out. And that's clearly the sort of thing that's being aimed at here. And not surprisingly, since Johnson was a very good plotter, that Brome would be doing that as well. I mean, I think that is a great deal of the pleasure of the play. One very simple way you could deal with this central problem, but it would wreck the play and make nonsense of the title, would simply be to have Quicksands announce that Millicent was dead. I mean, just cut straight to that and leave out the whole face painting bit. But I mean, it wouldn't be very interesting, and it would certainly make everybody wonder why it was called what it's called.
Well, we could call it the mock marriage. We have two. We have two titles, so and depending on how the mock marriage element comes to fruition, and certainly in the sense that he's giving out variously that she just needs to hide in a cupboard, structurally, and the play will still function as far as I can tell. It will depend on the final session. Alexandra, briefly.
Question for Lois. You mentioned a connection between Brome and Johnson, which I think you mentioned off camera in the previous session.
Oh, did I? Yes. Well, he was Johnson's servant. Johnson wrote a poem commenting on this in his first play. In fact, Johnson, also even stuck a reference to Brome in one of his other plays with one of those induction scenes where people are saying, is the playwright hearing us, or maybe his man Brome? And that there were puns about him. So he was definitely known for that. And he would have been certainly learning. Johnson may even have told him, his theories about playwriting. Which, in any case, he expounds everywhere, especially in Every Man Out of His Humor.
Yeah, just talking about the complexity of all the stuff that's going on. We've got a fairly large cast with quite a lot of people doing stuff. I'd follow on from Lois's point earlier about the gallants who are just sort of like, apart from Nathaniel, who are any of the other ones? Yeah. Who are they? Do they actually, apart from getting involved, so I'm interested in what happens in Nathaniel. I don't care about any of the others. And I was talking earlier about, can we cut? Can we adjust? Can we, conflate some characters down? I think that's the area where we can simplify some elements, potentially. I haven't looked at the way that
either Edmond or Vincent. Yeah,
because they could still be there, but they're not really named characters that we care about in that sense. And that's anyway. We will find out more when we complete this play in some fashion next time with slightly too few people, but it'll be fine. We'll talk to ourselves a lot. It's what happens in Act 5 as we find out how excisable, adjustable, or differentiable it will be to tweak and or radically alter the text for future reference. All that remains is thank all the wonderful readers for all the wonderful reading. You too can join us in the reading of potentially considerably less problematic a play. It might be, straightforwardly fun, and we can just go through it and say, oh, that was fun and that was interesting, and that doesn't often happen, but it sometimes does. But so you too can join us on this roller coaster ride of an experience sometime in the future. Sign-up forms can be found at beyondshakespeare.org and get involved page. So links are in the show description. So once again, thank the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading, and goodbye, the huckle-backed bum creeper.